These protests have been held across the country. Most Americans would call them disgusting, despicable, really disrespectful. But the question for the Supreme Court this morning is, do our free speech, First Amendment rights allow these protesters to disrupt these solemn remembrances of families of their fallen soldiers? Now, the protest that is at the center of this case happened the day before we saw the protesters in action.
Oh, wicked land of...
They protest funerals of soldiers, they say, because those men and women fought for a country that supports abortion and homosexuality. They are mostly family members of Westboro Baptist, a small Kansas church led by Fred Phelps.
These families feel like this is their private time and that you're invading their time.
Well, that's too bad, isn't it?
We first spoke to Phelps in 2006.
If a widow came to you and asked you to please stay away from my husband's funeral, would you take that into consideration?
No. Some maudlin widow. Look, you're partly to blame for him being dead, woman.
The day before that interview, Phelps disrupted Matthew Snyder's family in Maryland. Al Snyder was disgusted, telling George Stephanopoulos he had to sue.
I find it insulting to the families. So many people have died in this country throughout our history to preserve such a precious right. And to have a group of 80 people destroy it and mock it the way they are, it's a crime.
But in court, Snyder lost, and amazingly was ordered to pay the protesters $16,000, outraging many, including Fox News host Bill O'Reilly, who called into Good Morning America offering to pay those costs.
There is no doubt that a crime was committed here, and there is no doubt that these people went out of their way to hurt fellow Americans.
Now Snyder and Phelps will face off again in the Supreme Court. Phelps's daughter, a lawyer, will argue her father's case. But some constitutional experts say the court could rule for the grieving families.
If the Supreme Court ruled that the First Amendment played out differently at funerals, that would be unprecedented.
There is a possibility, according to the experts, that they could rule for the protesters, a strong statement in favor of the First Amendment. What are the options if they rule for the families, the grieving families? Potentially that you can't protest at funerals or against private citizens. A very big case, George, to be heard later this morning.
Key First Amendment case. Okay, David Curley, thanks very much.